As far as practical things that you can do for to do spiritual violence to yourself, which again is just a way of saying intense mortification. The most important thing that every man has to do is fast. I mean, if you've heard this 1,000 times, you have to adopt fasting. And it's not just, well, I'm just going to fast from social media. And I'll tell you what, you will fail at fasting from social media if you don't fast from food. Christ talks about some demons only coming out by prayer and fasting. He does not mean, fasting from being negative. You have to fast from food. Doesn't matter what age you live in. When you don't eat enough food for your normal activities, you get hangry, which means you have to have self-control, which means you're going to master your temperaments and your appetites, essentially. So the first thing is you have to fast. If you think you've tried everything to get rid of your evil images habit, you haven't. So the main thing that you haven't done, if you're listening to this show or watching this show, is you haven't got rid of your device that you use. That's very simple. Now you might think to yourself, well, there are ways that you could use your device in a way that is not going to allow you to do certain things. There's a phone called, I think it's called the Wise phone. It has like the smartphone functionality, meaning how you text and call and maps, but it's all black and white and there's no pictures and there's no internet. So it's actually kind of a perfect medium. So you can still have a communication device that works really well, but without all the nonsense. So you have to at least do something like that, or you have to actually get rid of the thing. And people will say, well, I need to have my phone for my job. I need to have my laptop, my tablet for my job. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you just have convinced yourself you do. This is like any other sin. If you're an alcoholic, the first thing you have to do is get alcohol out of your house. I mean, it's very simple. Somebody comes over and says, I'm going to help you kick your habit. It's like you open your liquor cabinet and it's full of a bunch of Irish whiskey. It's like, well, just give that to me and you have to get rid of it, Same thing with your devices. You have to get rid of them. So you have to find some way creative to do that. If you have to keep it, like if in the sense of you've tried and you can't get another job and whatever, and I get it, there's situations that are hard, then you at least have to get some sort of serious accountability software. Everyone's heard of Covenant Eyes, and I've never used it, but I know there's another one that's called Real Men Don't Porn. It's for Android users. A lot of people use Android. Why that is important? Yes, a lot of these net nannies, they work for your home internet server and things like that. But these actual apps you can download onto your phone and sign up for, this is a company you want to give your data to, unlike Facebook or something, and you allow them to track all of your internet usage on your phone. And every day what happens is there is an update sent to an accountability partner who you choose someone who you know doesn't have a problem. And that person, and I know this because I am the sponsor for some people, and I get their internet update every morning. And it tells me safe or unsafe. And it's very sensitive. So if you find out that this person's having an issue, you then can talk to them. Hey, this thing came up on my email. And it's so embarrassing in a good sense, like you've got some person who literally you've given access to the way you use your internet. So anyway, there's things you have to do. That's practical. The next thing you have to do is you also have to fill the time. This is something that I talked about in my talk. Addictions to this stuff are like any addiction. You researching how to fix this habit from a basic perspective it's just fixing an addiction. Don't overestimate what it is or underestimate. Just look at it exactly what it is. It's just an addiction. What does that mean? Your psychology follows the habits of addiction. So somebody who has, again, we'll go back to somebody who has like a gambling habit. Someone who has a gambling habit can't go to the casino. Somebody who has a gambling habit can't hang around with certain people anymore. Somebody who has a gambling habit has to then do something else during that time when they would usually gamble. So what are they're actually going to have a flood of basically hormones at the time they've trained themselves, and they're going to be craving this huge dopamine rush. This is a huge part of pornography addiction as well. Okay, so what are other things in your life that are like that? Well, a huge, let's say, in a bad sense, aid towards using pornography is social media, because it's the scrolling aspect. And the way that people use pornography today, it really is a scrolling thing. They're going through thousands and thousands of possibilities of things that catch their attention. And then there's sort of just, even before the lust aspect, there's just this basic instinct of, ooh, what is titillating to me? So you're gonna have to just look at that as well. So you also have to get rid of your social media. And then once you've done these things, this is how, unless there are certain men who, given their temperament and their personality, when they decide to stop something, they're done. And that's, there's just certain temperaments out there. And I know men like that, and they're done. But I also know men who talk to me for advice and stuff, and they really have tried basically everything. They've done all these things. But it's like, man, there's just like, I can't go a month without falling again and stuff. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? What's the real issue? And when we go through it, really, ultimately, it's there's an actual physical time and place that you're vulnerable. And I'm like, you realize this always happens on, Thursday nights at 11 o'clock. Your wife is a nurse and she works once a week over something, like there's just something. It's like there's just this literal this is the problem. You have to fix this actual situation. And then they're like, wow, I've never even thought of that. Of course you haven't thought of that, because when this moment comes, you're so habituated to it that you literally become like an animal. You become irrational, just like the gambler who, gets his heart rate up just when he drives by the convenience store where he used to get those little lottery tickets. There's just something. There's like it's like when you smell something and you have nostalgia and you're brought back to this place you used to go vacation as a child. It happens by instinct. You don't even think about it. So I said, okay, well, it happens every Thursday night at 11 o'clock. This is going to sound weird, but, if you don't have kids, it's like, guess what you're doing every Thursday at 10 o'clock till midnight, you're joining a night running group or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're going 5-pin bowling, like you're doing something. You're getting a part-time job. Where are you going to work? McDonald's. It doesn't matter. You're just going to work somewhere. Or if you have to stay home, you have to talk to a buddy. You have to say, listen, man, this is going to be weird. You have to come sleep over at my house every Thursday. your buddy without kids. You got to come sleep over at my house, and we're going to watch old movies.
Watch a bunch of war movies. Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, those, if you can just do those sorts of things, you'd be surprised how radically you can change the habit.